Hello, everyone. I am the Trans Trekkie, a Transformers fan, and a Trekkie, which is what makes me a Trans Trekkie. And uh, today, this one is going to be a little bit more personal in the sense that um, this is going to be a little bit based off of my personal and more recent experience. Um, that basically my what I want to talk about is cheating, and more specifically, how I honestly believe that absolutely 100% of all cheaters are sociopaths. It was because essentially if you're a cheater, you're somebody who is capable of experiencing pleasure from something that is going to hurt somebody you supposedly care about. And that's you either have to be seriously disconnected from your emotions to do that, or you just don't have any emotions. And either way, that's um, in either way, that's sociopath. You have to really be massively disconnected because it's like if you care about somebody, how can you do something that how can you derive pleasure from doing something that you know is going to hurt somebody you supposedly care about? And it just because sex doesn't happen in a vacuum and it doesn't happen accidentally. It's not like you could just be out and about and you're like, "Oh, I tripped and accidentally had sex with somebody." And it's like, "No, that's not how that happens." And uh, at some point between I mean, it requires, meeting somebody. You got to foster the relationship to some extent before it happens. You don't just, people don't just meet and then have sex immediately. That doesn't happen. And, so there are several points along that path before you actually are in bed and getting it on with somebody that you have those, opportunities to get back, to stop it and say, no, I'm not going to do this. This is wrong. This is going to hurt somebody I care about. I can't go through with this. And, if you ignore all of those opportunities and you actually do go through it, you're a sociopath. You don't care about people. You only care about yourself. And it's there has to be such a massive disconnect there in order to be able to do that. And thinking about my ex-wife and when she cheated on me, and you know, bear in mind, like I mean, she was a narcissist as well, but um, on top of that, it's she had several opportunities where she could have done literally anything else. And yeah, we were having problems in our marriage, but instead of searching elsewhere, she should have focused on our marriage and our time together and working on uh, fixing our relationship. Her focus should have been here at home, not trying to find somewhere else. And instead, she was fostering this other relationship behind my back for at least a couple of months. And rather than knowing full well, because, I mean, we had discussions about the possibility of an open marriage, but as of the time that she had cheated, I had said no, that I didn't want to do that. I wanted to focus on us, and um, I wanted us to try and fix what was wrong in our marriage and work things out. And she instead opted to foster a relationship with somebody else, and she, that's and then she, followed through with it. She had numerous opportunities that she could have stopped and said no, and said this is wrong, and decided to focus instead on being with us, but instead she decided to be with somebody else. And that's you know and so she followed through. She followed through with that, and she was able to derive pleasure from doing something that she knew was going to hurt me. And I just said that that aspect of it alone is why I will always be convinced that anybody who can be a cheater is a sociopath, because you have to have so little caring for somebody that you supposedly care about that you would be willing to do that. And if you are capable of that, that's like I said, that's a definition of a sociopath. Somebody who either has no emotions or is so disconnected from them that you can derive pleasure from somebody else's pain. And I think that's also one of the definitions of evil, honestly. Like, how evil do you have to be to enjoy hurting people? Anyone, whether it's, somebody you care about, or just another human being in general. Like, it's just, I just don't get it. I don't get how I don't get how anybody could do that. That's just, yeah. That's why yeah, I will always be convinced that absolutely 100% all cheaters are sociopaths, because that emotional disconnect is something that's inherently required to follow through with the act of cheating. So, um, anyway, um, I hope this was at least somewhat interesting. It's probably a little bit rambly, but um, yeah, if you found that interesting and you want to support this, then feel free to support me on Patreon. It's patreon.com/transtrekkie, and I will see you all in the next one.